What's up guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe Classified Series 6-inch action figure of David Big Ben Bennett. Shout out to my friendly neighborhood collector store Robo for getting this in today. And as usual, please like, share, comment, subscribe, or even hit the super thanks button. I do appreciate all engagement on my channel. Now here's a quick look at the box. It's all paper, no plastic. On the top, we have the G.I. Joe Classified Series logo. On the front, we have artwork of the figure, plus a couple of his accessories on the side. There's a Nightforce logo up front, and down to the bottom of the box, we have some product information, as well as the barcode. On the side, he's numbered 77, and we've got a QR code over here. Down to the back of the box, here's a render of the figure together with a couple of accessories, and as well as some highlights. UK flag over here, as well as his Armed Forces logo. And finally, more product information at the bottom. Finally, on that last side, we get to see the bigger version of that artwork. And once again, he's numbered 77. So let's go ahead and get this one open. Out of the box, he's on a cardboard insert, and on the backdrop of the cardboard insert is the black and white version of that same artwork that we saw on the box. Plus, he's got an ammunition box storing all his accessories. When you open up the box, all of it is stored in a G.I. Joe paper baggie. Snipping the bag open, let's have a look at his accessories. He comes with one huge heavy machine gun, an alternate head sculpt with that gas mask, another smaller rifle, a smaller submachine gun with an extended magazine, as well as some smaller pieces like the silencer for his submachine gun, the magazine for the smaller rifle, and finally the belt magazine for the heavy machine gun. All his weapon accessories are cast in a light grey plastic, which means most of them look quite dull. Might have been a better option to cast this in a more metallic gunmetal plastic. However, they do come with sufficient detail. So over here we have his submachine gun. So there's quite some interesting details, like the rails at the top, and a couple of curves in the pistol grip, and finally an extended magazine. The silencer is easy enough to plug in at the tip like so. Big Ben can hold this submachine gun in his right and his left trigger hands. It's also easy to store this submachine gun by unplugging the silencer, plugging it into this loop on his belt, and sliding this submachine gun into the holster on the side of his right thigh, and it stores away neatly like so. The heavy machine gun also comes cast with a couple of realistic details like the stock at the back, the rails on top, the charging handle, as well as a long barrel. It also comes with two posable supporting stands that you can swing down from the main body of the rifle, so that is a cool feature. And these two stands are also individually articulated, but at the same time, when you're stowing them away, they clip on securely on the side like so it doesn't swing about. The machine gun belt magazine has nice details like the bullets coming out of it. These bullets are also painted in a brassy color, with a hole over here that pegs into this extended peg on the machine gun like so. And now clipping the stand back, you can also see how the bullets also feed into the side of the gun. So that's nice work and some realistic details. Unfortunately, my machine gun is a little warped out of the box, but a bit of heat can fix this. And he also comes with a third weapon, which is a smaller rifle. Likewise, nice realistic detail like the stock on the back, couple of vents down the barrel, rails at the top, as well as the two sides. It has a supporting handle that you can swing down. However, this handle does come across a little loose and shaky on my copy, so you might just want to be careful while handling that. This gun also has two barrels, looking quite mean. And finally, it comes with a magazine over here. There's a strap down the middle of the magazine. Would have been nice to have a bit of paint on that strap, but no biggie. It also slides nicely into the bullet feed on this rifle. And Big Ben can dual wield his two rifles for some major firepower. And finally, he's got an alternate head with a gas mask on and a hood up. The main part of this head is cast in this green plastic with the flesh tone paint for the neck, while the mask portion of this head sculpt is a grey plastic that's inserted. So there's very nice separation between the green and the greys. Silver paint is applied for the eyepieces, and it's fairly shiny and reflective, so that's quite a cool look. The heads are easy enough to swap by just pulling on his head, and it comes off at the bottom of the neck. And now we pop on the alternate head. for a snug fit, and that alternate head sculpt looks really awesome. Coupled with the overall look of the figure and those two rifles, really looks like a mean fighting machine. So now onto his sculpt. While Big Ben looks like he's made from a couple of quite dull looking parts because of just the greys and the greens, he's actually got quite a lot of new sculpting and engineering. And these new parts are only apparent when you have him in hand. I'm pleasantly surprised by the new engineering, as well as some of the sculpted details on his outfit. It's no surprise that the upper body of this figure is where it really shines. I do like his head sculpt. He's got a steely, determined gaze, which is appropriate for this character, as well as a strong nose. Paint is sharply applied and you can see it in the browns of his eyes, and there's also a subtle blush on his cheeks. I feel the lip color is a nice shade as well, adding some more color but not appearing too much like lipstick. I do like the camel paint applications on his face, really nice and adds a bit of grittiness to the character. There's also dark green paint applied for that wireless headset that goes onto his right ear. The whole head sculpt is actually cast in a flesh tone plastic, with a lot more paint applications besides his face. We see that green for his hat, as well as the white paint for the insides of his hat that you see because it's folded up. And finally, he's got brown paint for the hair sculpt that's down the back of his head. So overall, the separation in the colors on his face and his head sculpt are really sharp. And while the colors are muted, the way that it's all executed and comes together is really impressive. I do like how the caramel paint is also applied on his neck, which is another nice touch. His torso is cast from a dark green plastic with some nice detailing like the collar. There are also a couple of buttons sculpted on the inside, and you can see the detail just below those bullet straps that he's wearing in front. There's light green paint for his inner shirt, as well as the straps on the sides. It's a minor gripe, but his upper torso looks like a glossy plastic, which really doesn't match the rest of the figure. And that glossy plastic is more apparent on the back. Now that's a minor gripe, but I think you should know, because it's strange for an armed forces character to be wearing some glossy or shiny fabric. His torso is accessorized by two bullet straps that run across his chest, a very distinct and unique design for this character, and just makes him look so badass with those bullets up front. These straps are cast in a lighter green plastic which matches the lighter green paint on his shirt. And there are also separate pieces of plastic for the bullets, which are cast in a brassy color with dark green paint for the bullet casings. There's also grey paint for his communicator and blue in the middle. Now we move on to his arms, and I do like how the Tempo logo over here is really sharp and stands out against the dark green plastic of the rest of his arm. The cuffs of his sleeves are painted black, and he's got some nice detailing on the outsides of his light green plastic hands. There's a bit of protective plating on the outside of his glove, and you can also see some dinks and dents that show some weathering in his gear. Now onto the left arm, he's got that really sharply applied temple for the British Union Jack, also standing out against the green of his uniform. This is a separate skirt piece sitting on top of his waist, and this is meant to show how his dark green shirt is untucked over his pants. It doesn't look too obtrusive, and because of how the greens match up, you can believably see how this character is wearing a shirt that's untucked. This skirt piece also has nicely and sharply applied paint applications, like the light grey for his buckle and the green for the rest of the belt, as well as the pouches that run down the sides and the back. Now we move on to his lower body, and this is where there's not much paint applications, because probably most of the budget was already spent on the really nice looking upper body. The rest of his legs are cast in the grey plastic with sufficient detail like the folds in the fabric, as well as some cargo pockets down the side. And on his right thigh he's got that holster cast in a green plastic, and it's got details like the pouches but down the front, as well as a couple of buttons on the side. We move on to his boots. These are cast in a light green plastic. Once again, also nice details for the boot laces that run down the front. And finally, a hit of black paint for the toe cap as well as the heel guard, with a nice bit of detailing for his sole as well. So overall, despite his muted colors, this figure looks really nice because of how the paint applications and the plastics are put together, making for quite a distinct looking Big Ben. Now onto his articulation, he's got two ball joints, one at the top of his neck and one at the bottom, so that gets you some all-round spinning. Both ball joints combine quite well to give you quite expressive sideways tilting, pretty decent range looking down as well as up. Now we're looking at his shoulders, and this is where there's the most interesting engineering in this figure. While we normally see butterfly joints and a swivel hinge in the shoulder, I believe this is the first time that we're seeing ball joints on Hasbro figures, working just like what you see on SH Figure Arts and Storm Collectibles, with also that extra piece of plastic that acts as a sleeve to cover up a lot of the space around the ball joint in the shoulder. Now what this means is that you can actually articulate his shoulders up and down, as well as forward and back. So overall you get some 360-degree motion. However, because of the small cutout hole in that torso, you don't actually get much expressive range out of this shoulder. But it's still a nice piece of engineering and possibly improving for future figures as well. So along with that ball joint, you also do get some 360 spinning, and we have that hinge in his shoulder for outward movement that's really quite impressive as well. There's a swivel at his shoulder that goes 360. It's like breaking the sculpt when you swing it outward sideways. Double hinge elbows for a very good range, and also those pins are concealed. Swivel hinge at his wrist for 360 spin, as well as hinging down and up, which is appropriate for a trigger hand. But strangely, on his right trigger hand, that hinge just swings in and out. He's got a hinge at the middle of his torso and also a ball joint at his waist. That ball joint gives you 360 spinning and also some sideways teapot tilting. Together, the hinge as well as the ball joint affords you very nice forward range in that crunching as well as bending backward. He's got drop down ball joints, so they do drop down at the hips and come outwards that much. Not so hindered by the skirt because of the slits down the sides. And this is also pretty good range for a big character like Big Ben, and fully utilizing that forward and backward range in his hips as well. There's a swivel at his thigh for 360 spin. Double hinge knees for very good range, and this can get quite stiff, but you get very good range of motion, and those pins are also once again concealed. Swivel just above the boot for 360 spin, and at his ankles he's got decent amount of tilt that goes up as well as down, and finally ankle pivot that goes out and in. Big Ben is pretty well articulated, so you should be able to get him into most fighting or action poses. Despite his muted color scheme, the execution of the colors, the paints, and the plastics on this figure turn out quite well, and he's also well accessorized. The newly engineered ball joint shoulders is also a highlight, despite its limited range. But I do hope that Hasbro can improve on this joint on newer figures moving forward. For size, Big Ben stands at about 6 5/8 of an inch, and that's almost 17 centimeters. As you'd expect, he looks good with the Joes, coming in taller than the average but slightly shorter than the Gung Ho or Roadblock body. Here he is compared with some of the Cobra leadership, and he's also taller than some of the troop builders. For comparisons with other lines, here he is with some Marvel Legends, and he towers over Star Wars Black Series. I almost passed on this figure, but I'm very glad that I didn't. He's got a decent number of accessories and an awesome alternate head with the gas mask. What's also impressive is how the muted colors and paints are executed on the final product for an interesting and unique looking character. Finally, the new ball joint engineering in the shoulders is much appreciated, though I think the range could be further improved for new characters moving forward. Overall, this is a solid recommend from me. Please like and share this video, let me know what you think in the comments below, subscribe to my channel, or even hit the super thanks button. Thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.